Hello everyone, welcome back to the e-learning space of MGM Higher Secondary School, Bokaro. This is the second video for your literature reader lesson number 6 of class 8 English. Lesson number 6 from your literature reader is a poem. The poem is titled OZYMANDIAS. It's written by the famous poet Percy by Shelley. Percy by Shelley was a famous romantic poet of the 19th century. In our first video about this poem, we read the poem and analyzed each line in detail. Today, let us discuss and critically appreciate the poem. About the poem. First, let us recall the summary of the poem Ozymandias. In this poem, Ozymandias, written by Percy by Shelley, the speaker is a traveler. And the poet recalls having met this traveler who was from an antique land and who told him a story about the ruins of a statue in the desert of his native country. Two vast legs of stone stand without a body, and near them a massive crumbling stone head lies half sunk in the sand. The traveler told the speaker that the frown and sneer of cold command on the statue's face indicate that the sculptor understood well the emotions or passions of the statue's subject. The memory of those emotions survived stamped on the lifeless statue, even though both the sculptor and his subject are now dead. On the pedestal of the statue appear the words, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." But around the decaying ruin of the statue, nothing remains, only the lone and level sands which stretch out around it. Now, further discussing the poem, let us now see what is the form of the poem. The poem Ozymandias is a sonnet. As discussed earlier, what is a sonnet? It is a 14-line poem metered in iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter simply means that each syllable pair, the second syllable is stressed, and there are usually 5 pairs of syllables per line. So there are 5 pairs of syllables and the second syllable is stressed. The rhyme scheme is somewhat unusual for a sonnet of this era. Era is the 19th century. It does not fit a conventional Petrarchan pattern, but instead interlinks the octave, a term for the first 8 lines of a sonnet. So when you look at the sonnet, there are 14 lines. The first 8 lines are called the octave, and the rest 6 lines are called the sestet. Now, by gradually replacing old rhymes with new ones in the form of A, B, A, B, A, C, D, C, E, D, E, F, E, F. This is the rhyming scheme of the poem Ozymandias. It's not in the conventional style, means what traditionally used to be there in a sonnet, that rhyme scheme is not here, but the octave and the sestet follow this rhyme scheme: A, B, A, B, A, C, D, C, E, D, E, F, E, F. Now, before we discuss the textual exercises, let us see what are the poetic devices that have been used by the poet in this poem. The very striking poetic devices that we can single out, first one is irony. The words on the pedestal do not hold true in the present scene described by the traveler. Of course, the pedestal says, "Look at the might and power of the king and the kingdom." But there is no king alive and the kingdom lies in ruins. There is no glory to be witnessed. So the words are ironical to the situation or the scene described in the poem by the traveler. Hence, irony is a poetic device. There's also comparison. The method of comparison has been used by the poet to pitch two opposite ideas. Juxtapose means putting together opposite ideas in a stanza or a sentence. For example, see here, legs of stone stand in the desert, and then he goes on to say a shattered visage lies. So standing and lying, both are two opposite ideas, and that pitch in our mind a certain kind of comparison. It gives an idea of comparison to the readers. So comparison has been used. In fact, while giving the idea of irony, or while using the poetic device of irony, once again the comparison between nature, man-made things, the transient life of mortals, and the everlasting glory of the Almighty, those things are also compared in the poem. When we come to the third striking poetic device, it is alliteration. And what is alliteration? We have discussed this in our previous videos as well. It is a repetition of the same letter or sound in words that are closely placed together. One such example is boundless and bare. The sound b are closely or adjacent to each other, and they're in the beginning of these words. Now come to the textual exercises, children. Understand and answer. The first question is, what did the travelers see in the ancient land? So we can answer, the travelers saw two vast and bodiless legs of stone in the desert. He also saw a shattered face of the body or the statue lying near the sand. Pick out expressions which show that the words on the pedestal, "Look on my works," are an empty boast. Yes. So empty boast means these do not hold true. Look on my works. So we can say, nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. This shows that when the statues or the engravings on the statue says that look on my works, it is empty. It does not mean anything. It's a boast that has no real meaning, because around the statue we only can see the vast stretches of sand. Let's quote that expression here to answer this question. Now there are four characters in the poem. Name them. As discussed in our previous video, children, we can see the poet in the very beginning of the sentence. I means the poet. He is one character. Then he met a traveler. The traveler is the second character. Then there's a mention of a sculptor. Sculptor is the third character. Then Ozymandias. My name is Ozymandias. The king, Ramses II. He is the fourth character. Come to these. Choose the option that explains each statement. Till that its sculptor well those passions read. What does this expression actually mean? The options are, the sculptor skillfully understood the king's feelings. The sculptor read a story about the king. The king read a story to the sculptor. No, the first one makes sense. The sculptor really understood the king's feelings, and that is why he could capture those feelings and expressions in the statue. Come to the second one. Which yet survives, stamped on these lifeless things. The king is still alive? No, he is not alive. The sculpted image shows the king's emotions very well. The sculptor was very passionate. The sculpted image shows the king's emotions very well. Second one. See the third one. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. The king says that his works are so superior that God cannot equal their excellence and will despair. Only for the mighty God while the rest can despair. Only for the king while God can despair. No, the first one. It is so superior that God cannot equal their excellence and will despair. So basically it is the first one. Now coming to the think and appreciate part, children. The first one says the poem is an example of English line. In each syllable pair, the second syllable is stressed. The example is shown antique land. So we see that 5 pairs of syllable are here and the second syllable is stressed. I met a traveler from an antique land. Show the stressed syllable in a similar manner for each line of the poem. This is something for you to do, an activity that will help you understand the iambic pentameter and how to stress those words. The second question point says that alliteration is the repetition of the same letter or sound words that are closely placed together. We learned this in our video as well. Now you have to underline the repeated sounds in the given line. Which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things. You're going to find out boundless and bare. I already used this as an example in the video. Irony is the use of words that mean the opposite. So how are the words on the pedestal ironical for the reader? Very simple. The pedestal boasts of glory and might. It says that even God cannot excel in this manner. But is it true? No, it's just the opposite surrounds the entire statue. In fact, the statue also is dilapidated and lies in ruins. Come to the second one. What do you think the reader would feel? Great fear and respect for the king or amazement at the emptiness around? When you see a broken statue of a king, are you going to feel respect and fear for the king? No. But amazement at the emptiness around? Yes, that nature is ever thriving. That is going to make the readers feel amazed. That's all about your textual exercises, children. Now, children, coming to the assignments that you will be doing from this lesson. First, read the poem carefully and mark the tough words. Learn the word meanings. Complete the textual exercises in the reader book itself as discussed in this video. And do the exercise understand and answer given on page 31 and 32 in your English copies. Then come to think and appreciate and do that, especially question number 3 in your English copies. After that, give a pictorial representation of the poem based on your understanding of the lesson and color it. That brings us to the end of our discussion and the end of our video too on the poem Ozymandias. Thank you, children, and take care.